The great hall of the Moonstone Pack was a breathtaking cascade of light and power. Crystal chandeliers, carved from the quartz found deep in the territory's mountains, cast a soft, silvery glow over the hundreds of assembled shifters. Tonight was the annual choosing ceremony, the single most important night of the year, where newly matured wolves hoped to find their destined mates. Rose stood against a far marble pillar, a silent ghost in a room full of vibrant life. Her dress, a simple hand-stitched linen, was a stark contrast to the shimmering silks and rich velvet worn by every other young female in the room. She was 19, her scent weak, and her heart heavy with the certainty of her invisibility. For 7 years, since her father had remarried, Rose had existed on the periphery of her own life, a living shadow in the home of her stepmother, Vivian, and her stepsister, Selina. They saw her only as an inconvenience, a scullery maid, and tonight, a necessary distraction to make Selina shine brighter. Selina, with her bold scent and arrogant tilt of the chin, was already circulating near the Alpha's dais. She wore a dress the color of claret wine, designed to catch every eye, including the one that mattered most, Alpha Josh Kincaid. Josh. The name itself was a seismic event in the quiet, desperate landscape of Rose's mind. He was 25, the youngest, most formidable alpha the Moonstone Pack had ever seen. He was a myth made real, broad-shouldered with dark wind-swept hair, and eyes the color of midnight storm clouds. His powerful, dominating alpha scent, pine rain, and something sharper, like raw leather, suffused the hall, a constant, low-level thrumming that made every shifter in the room feel both safe and utterly submissive. Rose's gaze drifted toward him, perched on a simple, elevated stone chair that looked more like a throne. He was speaking to his beta, Jax, his expression focused and serious. He hadn't glanced her way, not once. Why would he? Rose was a muted scent, a quiet heart. She wasn't an alpha's mate. "Stand up straight, you blight," a low, venomous voice hissed close to her ear. Rose flinched, turning to see Selina standing behind her, a false smile plastered on her face for the benefit of passing guests. "He won't look at you all the way back here, anyway, Rose," Selina continued, leaning in. "Honestly, why did Mother even insist you attend? To give the alpha a good laugh at your peasant attire? Keep your head down. I wouldn't want your awkwardness to stain my own entrance." Rose simply nodded, feeling the familiar, acidic burn of humiliation. "I'm sorry, Selina. I'll stay here." Selina's smile widened with vicious satisfaction before she sashayed away, rejoining a clutch of her equally vapid friends. The High Elder then struck the ceremonial gong. The sound reverberated through the hall, signaling the start of the choosing. The ritual required the unmated females to walk a specific path leading past the alpha's dais, allowing any unmated male to step forward and claim his partner. It was the moment of highest scrutiny, the moment where destinies were decided. Rose watched the procession begin, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She was near the end of the line. She just had to walk the path, avoid tripping over her own feet, and retreat back into the shadows of her servitude. As the line moved, she took a shaky breath, trying to ignore the intense, palpable presence of Alpha Josh Kincaid. She just needed to be invisible for 5 more minutes. Chapter 2, The Stalking Shadow. Rose's anxiety was a tight, cold knot in her stomach. The hall's floor was a polished obsidian, slick under the silvery light. Each step down the ceremonial path felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm of humiliation. She could hear the whispers of the crowd, the low rumble of male shifters assessing the potential mates, and the overpowering alpha scent that was now closer than ever. She kept her eyes fixed on the path, her hands clasped tightly. She had almost made it past the main scrutiny area, the open space directly in front of the alpha's elevated chair, when a subtle movement to her right caught her attention. Selina. Her stepsister was supposed to be further back, but she had managed to subtly push her way forward, now walking almost directly on Rose's heels. Selina's face, usually masked by a practiced flirtatiousness, was contorted into a mask of pure, ugly malice. "You really think any male will claim a timid, low-scent wallflower?" Selina muttered, her voice low enough to be drowned out by the ceremony music. "You're a burden, Rose. And tonight, you're going to prove it." Rose felt a sudden, sharp panic. She sped up her pace, desperate to escape Selina's proximity, desperate to get off the stage. Meanwhile, Alpha Josh Kincaid, seated above the fray, was observing the ceremony, but not in the way the pack assumed. He wasn't looking for the prettiest or the wealthiest. He was looking for strength, the kind that brought harmony. He was tired of the pack politics, the vying for the Luna title. He needed a partner who would be the bedrock of the pack, not its distraction. He had noticed the unusual discord near the back of the line, the subtle, cruel dynamic between the two young women. His eyes, keen and trained to spot threats, had tracked the bold, aggressive scent of Selena and the timid, almost neutral scent of Rose. Something felt wrong, a dissonant note in the pack harmony he sought. Just as Rose was passing the Alpha's dais, mere feet from the greatest power in the room, Selena made her move. It was quick, expert, and entirely intentional. Her foot, concealed by the long hem of her rich gown, darted out, hooking precisely around Rose's ankle. Rose's breath hitched. She felt the sudden, shocking loss of balance. Her arms flew out, a desperate, futile attempt to catch herself. The world tilted violently. The gasps from the assembled shifters were deafening. In the silver light of the chandeliers, Rose saw the polished obsidian floor rushing up to meet her, the moment of ultimate public disgrace, tripping, falling, sprawling in front of the entire pack, at the very feet of the Alpha. A wave of crushing despair washed over her. This is it. This is how they will remember me. The one who fell. As her body tipped past the point of no return, the Alpha's chair was violently scraped back across the stone floor. The commanding scent of pine and leather that had been a distant hum suddenly roared with protective, possessive fury. Rose didn't feel the floor. Instead, she felt an immense, powerful warmth slam into her, catching her around the waist and pulling her against a wall of pure, solid muscle. Chapter 3. A whisper and a roar. Time stopped. The hall, moments ago a cacophony of music and whispers, was now held in a collective, horrified silence. Rose was suspended, not falling, but held firm. Her body was pressed against something hard, radiating heat and an unbelievable, overwhelming power. Her cheek brushed against rough, dark fabric and the strong, rhythmic beat of a heart that was pounding with primal ferocity. Alpha Josh Kincaid had moved with the speed of a striking viper, his years of training allowing him to cover the distance and catch her barely an inch from the floor. He hadn't just picked her up, he had scooped her into his arms, holding her close to his chest, one massive hand braced around her lower back, the other cradling the back of her head. Rose's mind struggled to catch up. She was breathing in the pure, intoxicating scent of him, pine, rain and raw, untamed power. It wasn't just close, it was enveloping, protective and, most terrifyingly, right. She slowly lifted her gaze. She was inches from his face. Josh's storm-cloud eyes were locked on her, but the look in them was unlike the aloof, cold scrutiny she had seen from the dais. They were blazing, a molten, furious gold, the color of his shifted wolf, full of an intense, possessive fury that was aimed not at her, but at the threat that had caused her fall. And then it happened. The moment that shattered the very foundation of his alpha control. As his flesh pressed against hers, as his wolf recognized the tiny, timid scent that had been lost in the loud room, Josh's internal world exploded. A connection, instant, electric, and utterly undeniable, slammed into his core. It was the scent of forgotten lavender and spring rain, a scent that was the missing piece of his soul. Mate. The soundless roar of his internal wolf was so powerful it physically shook his massive frame. He didn't just smell it, he felt it, a magical tether snapping into place, a destiny he had never sought in this room, now thrust upon him. Rose, still dazed, registered the subtle change in his grip. The protective hold tightened into a possessive vice. Her sprained ankle, which had initially been throbbing, suddenly screamed in pain as her weight settled awkwardly. "My ankle," she whispered, the sound a faint sigh against the fabric of his shirt. Josh's focus snapped instantly from the primal mate recognition to the physical reality of her injury. He looked down at the way her foot was twisted. The golden fire in his eyes cooled slightly, replaced by a fierce, concerned tenderness. He lifted his head, his gaze sweeping over the crowd, a dominant, cold scrutiny that froze every shifter in place. His eyes landed on Selena, who was still standing with her foot slightly extended, her triumphant sneer having curdled into a mask of pure, panicked shock. The alpha didn't need words. His gaze was a blade, identifying the cause, the malice, and the intended disgrace. He turned his back on the pack, shielding Rose with his body, and shifted his hold. My Luna, he murmured, the title a low, possessive rumble meant only for her ears. You are safe. Chapter 4. The Silent Claim. The crowd was a frozen landscape of disbelief. Never in the history of the Moonstone Pack had the Alpha intervened in such a way. To catch an unmated female was unheard of. To carry her, shielding her with the full force of his authority, was a declaration. Josh didn't acknowledge the crowd. He didn't spare a second glance for Selena, though his wolf's silent, crushing threat had pinned her to the spot. His entire focus was Rose. He began to walk, carrying her effortlessly. His gait was steady, powerful, and utterly decisive, carrying them away from the ceremonial path and toward the private hidden wings of the Alpha's residence. Rose, still trembling in his arms, could only stare at the breadth of his shoulder, trying to reconcile the cold, distant Alpha with the fierce, protective man who was now holding her as if she were the most precious object on earth. She still hadn't smelled the mate bond. The terror of the fall, the throbbing pain in her ankle, and the sheer shock of being held by him had scrambled her senses, muting the truth. Alpha Josh, she managed, her voice weak and reedy. You don't have to. I can walk. You will not put your foot down until a healer has tended to it, Josh commanded, his voice deep and absolute, brooking no argument. And you will never have to walk that path again, Rose. He glanced down at her, the golden light in his eyes softened to a warm amber. Do you know my name? Josh Kincaid, she whispered. Alpha. Then use it. No titles when we are alone. Just Josh. He adjusted her weight, his arm resting underneath her thighs. Tell me your full name. Rose Elms. Rose, he repeated, the single syllable a possessive growl that vibrated through her chest. My wolf recognized you. We are mates. Rose felt a dizzying mix of elation and self-doubt. Mate? Impossible. He was the greatest Alpha in the territory. She was the pack's ghost. I haven't smelled anything, Alpha. I mean, Josh. It could be a mistake. The fall. The shock. A small, possessive smirk touched the corner of his lips. It is not a mistake, Rose. My senses are infallible. The shock is yours, not mine. My wolf has waited 25 years for your scent. Yours will catch up soon enough. Until then, you are under my protection. They reached the door to the Alpha's private healing wing. Before pushing it open, Josh turned back, his gaze sweeping the hall one last time, pinning Selena and Vivian with a silent, devastating threat. Jax, he commanded, his voice cutting through the lingering silence of the hall. Escort the Stepbates family from the hall. They are to be confined to their temporary quarters. They are not to be seen or spoken to until I have finished with them. He pushed the door open, carrying Rose over the threshold and into the deep, quiet comfort of his private sanctuary. As the door closed, cutting off the shock and speculation of the pack, Rose finally succumbed to the overwhelming presence of her unexpected destiny, allowing her head to rest against his shoulder. Chapter 5. Alpha's Command. The Alpha's private healing wing was a sanctuary of hushed professionalism, rich wood, and the faint, clean scent of medicinal herbs. Josh strode through it like a king in his castle, carrying Rose into a small, luxurious examination room. He gently placed her on a padded chaise, his movements careful and unhurried despite the internal storm she knew he was battling. Rose winced as her sprained ankle touched the cushion. Stay, he commanded, the low Alpha resonance in his voice making her muscles instantly relax, fighting against the pain. It was a command meant to soothe, not control, and it worked perfectly. Josh then turned and spoke quickly to a pack healer who had rushed in. Examine her ankle. No pain. Full healing. Now. As the healer, a gentle-looking woman named Marta, began her work, Josh moved to the far end of the room, pulling a chair closer. He didn't leave her side, but he gave the healer the space she needed. He simply watched Rose, his arms resting on his knees, his jaw tight. Why me, Josh? Rose finally managed, the question scratching at her throat. I'm a low-scent wolf. I'm clumsy. I'm nothing to the pack. Selena is everything an Alpha should have. Selena is a serpent, Josh stated flatly, his amber eyes hardening at the mention of her name. She is discord wrapped in silk. She nearly caused a pack disgrace at a sacred ceremony, a direct challenge to the peace I have worked years to establish. My mate is not a challenge, Rose. She is my peace. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a low, intense declaration. My wolf is the oldest, most powerful spirit in this pack. It does not lie. When I caught you, Rose, the world went silent. My wolf didn't just claim you, it chose you. Your scent is quiet because you have been suppressed. Your spirit is quiet because they tried to break it. But I see the quiet strength, the honesty, and the pure heart that my pack needs in a Luna. Marta finished wrapping the now healed ankle, applying a final, cool salve. She is good, Alpha. No lasting damage, but she should rest for the night. The shock was significant. She will rest here, Josh decided instantly, his gaze sweeping over the private, luxurious chamber adjacent to the healing wing. Rose, I am not letting you go back to the confines of your stepfamily. Ever. As my mate, you have the highest status in this pack. You are mine to protect, and mine to cherish. He stood up, his massive frame towering over her. Marta, ensure the Alpha guest quarters are prepared for Rose's stepfamily. They are to be guarded, not for their safety, but for the pack's. They will be confined until I have decided their fate. And ensure Rose's few belongings are brought here. He looked down at Rose, his eyes alight with a fierce, possessive tenderness. You spent 6 years in the shadows of my pack, Rose. Tonight, the spotlight is on you. The pack knows who you are now. You are my Luna. And I will not allow anyone, least of all yourself, to make you feel invisible again. He reached out and gently tucked a strand of her dark hair behind her ear. Rest, mate. I have a pack to lead and a destiny to claim. And tomorrow, we begin your induction as the Luna of the Moonstone Pack. Chapter 6, The Interrogation and the Vow. The night was long and unsettling for Rose. She lay in the vast, luxurious alpha bed, wrapped in silk sheets, the rich, comforting scent of pine and leather clinging to the linen. Her ankle was entirely healed, but the emotional whiplash of the day was profound. She was a mate. A Luna. The girl who was too quiet, too weak, had been chosen by the Alpha whose power defined their world. While Rose rested, Josh was fulfilling his duty. He convened an immediate, private session with his beta, Jax, and the High Elder. The subject, the public disgrace initiated by Selena. She attempted to sabotage a sacred ceremony, Josh stated, his voice a low, cold rumble in his private office. It was a direct act of malicious intent against a pack member, one who is now my Luna. This cannot be ignored, Jax. Jax, usually quick with a strategy, looked concerned. Alpha, her stepmother, Vivian, is related to the head of the neighboring Red Rock pack. We must consider the political fallout of a severe punishment. Let the Red Rock Alpha understand this. My Luna's safety and dignity are non-negotiable, Josh snarled, his wolf close to the surface. Their influence does not extend to the conduct of members within the Moonstone Pack. He then called Selena and Vivian to his office. The meeting was brief, brutal, and without mercy. Vivian, plump and imperious, tried to adopt a tone of wounded innocence. Alpha, Selena is just a child. Rose is clumsy. It was a simple accident. You cannot seriously believe my daughter would deliberately humiliate your choice. Josh leaned forward over his mahogany desk, his eyes glowing with that intense amber light. I saw the full intent, Vivian. My wolf is the truth seeker of this pack. Selena, you will confirm the truth. Was the trip intentional? Selena, stripped of her arrogance and faced with the raw, terrifying power of the Alpha, trembled. She tried to deny it, but Josh's Alpha command was a mental vice. Answer me, he commanded, the word a mental hammer blow. Selena broke. Yes, I tripped her. She was a weak, pitiful thing, and I didn't want her to even finish the walk. She doesn't deserve you, Josh. She's not worthy of the title. Josh stood up slowly, a formidable, terrifying figure. You believed your envy entitled you to cause a pack disgrace. Your punishment will be severe and public, a lesson for the entire territory. You will be stripped of all privileges and assets, and you and your mother will be immediately transferred to the outermost, unpatrolled edge of our territory, where you will remain as border guards until the moon goddess claims you. You will have no pack status, no protection, and no resources. You will work for your survival." Vivian screamed, but Selena, exhausted by the alpha command, simply collapsed. Josh turned to Jax. "Ensure the transfer is complete before dawn. I will not have their malice near my mate." He walked back to his private wing, shedding his alpha persona as he approached Rose's room. He sat beside her on the bed, taking her hand in his. "I have dealt with them," he said, his voice softer, the pine scent returning to a comforting warmth. "They are gone from the compound, Rose. They will never harm you again." Rose looked at him, seeing the decisiveness and the protection he embodied. "I didn't ask you to exile them, Josh. It seems harsh." "It is justice," he countered, raising her hand to his lips and pressing a slow, deliberate kiss to her knuckles. "They attacked my mate. That is an attack on the stability of the pack. I cannot lead if my decisions are questioned by the petty spite of jealous wolves. I have made a vow tonight, Rose. A vow of protection. And I will fulfill it until my last breath." Chapter 7. The Unexpected Luna. The next morning, the grand news was formally announced. The choosing ceremony, briefly interrupted, had been resolved by the Alpha's personal, powerful claim. Rose Elms was the new Luna of the Moonstone Pack. The reactions were immediate and divided. The older wolves, steeped in tradition and pack hierarchy, were suspicious. They saw the public spectacle, the low-scent female, and the haste, and they smelled only disruption. How could this quiet girl bring strength to the pack? The younger generation, however, was captivated. They had seen the intense, protective fury of their alpha. They had witnessed the sheer romance of a powerful leader choosing the underdog, the quiet girl who was constantly belittled. To them, it was a tale of destiny and true love. Rose, meanwhile, was thrust from obscurity into a life of bewildering luxury and expectation. Josh was omnipresent, a silent, powerful shadow who guarded her every step. He introduced her to the pack elders, not as a choice to be approved, but as a mate to be respected. The moon goddess herself chose her, Josh announced to a gathering of the pack council, his eyes challenging any hint of dissent. "I ask for your loyalty to the Luna, as you give it to me. Her strength is a quiet river that will enrich our pack more than any roaring current." Rose found her voice beginning to emerge under the constant pressure of his faith. She noticed that when Josh spoke of her, he spoke not of her lineage or strength, but of her quiet honesty and pure heart, the things that Selena and Vivian had mocked. One evening, while alone with Josh, she noticed his constant alertness. He never fully relaxed, even in the safety of his own rooms. "You are still guarded," she observed, her hand reaching out to touch the faint tension line near his jaw. "The punishment was enough, Josh. Why the vigilance?" He sighed, his massive frame relaxing slightly under her touch. "The threat is gone, Rose. The instinct is not. I let them hurt you. I stood by while they made you feel less than you are. My wolf will never forgive me for not seeing you sooner, for not claiming you the moment you turned 19. He pulled her into his lap, holding her tightly. "I am not just protecting you from them, mate. I am protecting you from my mistakes. And I am protecting the pack from their own prejudice. It takes time for the pack to align with a destiny they didn't anticipate. Until then, my vigilance is your shield." Rose settled against his chest, realizing that his protection was as much about healing her past as it was about securing their future. She was no longer just his Luna, she was his redemption. Chapter 8. The Quiet Power. Rose's first 2 weeks as Luna were a crash course in diplomacy, pack management, and navigating the subtle politics of power. Josh, though protective, did not try to hide her away. He insisted she attend all council meetings, sit by his side during public pronouncements, and engage with the pack, forcing them to see her for who she was, not who they expected her to be. The whispers continued, but they began to change. The initial skepticism about her low scent and timid demeanor started to give way to grudging admiration. She was quiet, yes, but when she spoke with a measured wisdom that often surprised the council. During a heated debate about dividing a hunting territory with the neighboring Wolfclaw pack, the council was stuck between aggression and submission. Rose, who had been silently listening, finally spoke up, her voice soft but clear. The Wolfclaw Alpha has 3 daughters, but no sons. His territory is rich, but his pack is aging. He does not want a fight, he wants a legacy. Offer him a strategic alliance, not of territory, but of healers and defense training for his youth. Give him what he needs to secure his future, and he will gladly grant us the hunting grounds. The council was stunned. It was a strategy rooted in empathy and insight, not force, a pure example of the quiet power Josh had spoken of. Josh's eyes, watching her, were alight with profound pride. The Luna has spoken. We will follow her counsel. Later, Josh found her on the veranda, looking out over the moonlit compound. You are a genius, Rose, he said, pulling her into his arms. That was a move of pure brilliance. You looked past the fight and saw the need. I was invisible for a long time, Josh, she murmured, resting her head on his shoulder. When you are invisible, you learn to see everything. I see their fear, their needs, their hopes. That is my strength. And it is the Moonstone Pack's salvation, he corrected, pressing a deep, powerful kiss to her temple. Just as the kiss deepened, a low, frantic scratching at the door interrupted them. It was Jax, his face pale with alarm. Alpha. We intercepted an encoded transmission from the Red Rock border, Vivian's pack. They are planning to petition the High Council to declare the mate bond invalid. They claim the bond was forced, manipulative, and that the Luna is not a true, powerful shifter, but a human-level threat to your pack's purity. The political consequences of their hasty bond were finally catching up. Rose felt a familiar, cold fear. They were going to try to take her away from him again. Chapter 9. The Threat of Nullification. The threat of the nullification petition was a massive political storm. The High Council, which governed the territorial laws of all shifter packs, had to take any formal petition regarding a major pack's mate bond seriously. The implications of a forced or illegitimate bond were too severe for pack stability. Josh was furious, but his fury was cold, controlled, and strategic. He immediately called a war council, assembling his senior warriors and diplomats. This is an attack on the sanctity of our pack structure, Josh stated, his presence filling the room with icy alpha authority. Vivian and the Red Rock Alpha are using this as leverage to seize territory and resources. Our defense must be absolute. Rose, though shaken, refused to be sidelined. She sat at the head of the table, listening intently. The basis of their claim is that my bond to you is manipulative, forced, and that I lack the necessary power to be a Luna, Rose summarized, her eyes sharp. They will demand proof of your power, Jax confirmed grimly. They want a public demonstration that you are a true shifter, a full wolf, or the bond will be declared null and void. Rose's knuckles were white as she gripped the table's edge. This was the hidden shame she hadn't even fully confessed to Josh yet. She was a true shifter. She was a low-scent wolf because she was a late-blooming, rare white wolf. She had never been able to fully shift, not out of weakness, but out of fear of drawing attention to her rarity. Her father had warned her the white wolf line was often targeted for its purity. I can't fully shift, Josh, she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. My wolf is strong, but my full shift has never completed. I can run, I can fight, but I am not the powerful, seamless wolf they will demand to see. They will expose me as a faulty shifter, and they will use that to take me away from you. Josh looked at her, his amber eyes filled with unwavering belief. He didn't question her confession. He accepted it as another layer of the truth he needed to protect. The bond is real, Rose. I will not let a mere lack of a full shift invalidate the will of the moon goddess. We fight their politics with our truth. Then we must show them your true strength, Josh decided. Not your shift, but your heart. Your love. They will be looking for a display of power, but we will give them a display of sacrifice. He stood up, his plan taking shape. We will agree to the High Council's demand for a public demonstration of power. But we will make it a ceremony of the mate bond, not a show of force. We will challenge them to find one flaw in our love, one crack in our mutual commitment. Josh leaned down and kissed her forehead, a promise in the touch. They expect a display of teeth and claws, Rose. We will give them a display of devotion. We will force them to see the truth of our bond, or challenge the very meaning of the mate claim. Chapter 10. The Test of Devotion. The High Council, 3 severe, non-pack-affiliated elders, arrived at the Moonstone compound a week later. The tension was suffocating. The entire pack gathered in the ceremonial hall, the same place where Rose had fallen and been claimed. Selena and Vivian, brought back from the border for the hearing, sat under heavy guard, their spiteful faces a constant reminder of the stakes. The lead elder, a stern-faced woman named Lyra, opened the proceedings. Alpha Josh Kincaid, the petition claims your bond to Rose Elms is a political manipulation, a gross misuse of the mate claim. The council requires a public demonstration of the strength and authenticity of this bond. We seek proof that this union brings stability and power to your pack. Josh stepped forward, his expression calm and resolute. The strength of a bond is not measured by the size of the wolf, elder. It is measured by the depth of the commitment. We will not be demonstrating a shift. We will be demonstrating a vow. He turned to Rose, taking her hand and leading her to the center of the hall, directly where she had fallen. Rose, Josh said, his voice ringing with clear, powerful conviction, my love for you is not reliant on your power. It is reliant on your heart. My pack needs a Luna who is wise, compassionate, and true. That is you. He then did the unthinkable. He knelt. The sound of hundreds of shifters collectively gasping filled the hall. An alpha never kneels to his mate in public. It was the ultimate display of submission, a willingness to place her before his own authority. I was blind, Josh stated, his amber eyes holding only Rose's. I let you walk here alone. I let my pack's politics make you feel insignificant. For that, I kneel. I publicly swear to you, Rose Elms, that I will never place the needs of my power before the safety of your heart. I will be your shield, your strength, and your sanctuary. I surrender my alpha authority to your wisdom. He then reached to his own neck, where the Veric Alpha necklace, a thick braided leather collar with the largest, most powerful moonstone gem at its center rested. It was the physical symbol of his power and his rank. Josh unclasped the necklace. This symbol of alpha power belongs only to the strongest. I offer it now, not as a gift, but as a shared purpose. Rose, if you are truly my mate, you will take this burden, this power, and wear it with me. We will rule as equals. Rose was overcome. He had sacrificed his pride, his rank, and the core symbol of his power just to prove his commitment. This was the strength the council needed to see, a bond rooted in total, mutual surrender and trust. Tears streaming down her face, Rose lifted her hands and accepted the heavy, powerful necklace. As her fingers closed around the stone, the moonstone gem flared with a sudden brilliant white light. A surge of energy, pure, powerful, and white, shot up her arm. Rose gasped, and with a silent, internal explosion of power, she felt her wolf surge to the surface. It wasn't the small, low-scent wolf of her shame. It was a massive, majestic white wolf, pure white as fresh snow, with eyes of dazzling silver. The power of the alpha's sacrifice, combined with the love of her true mate, had finally unlocked her full dormant legacy. In a silent shift of breathtaking speed and power, Rose transformed. She was no longer Rose the timid girl, she was a stunning, massive white wolf Luna, the most powerful and rare sight in all the territories. She stood over Josh, an equal and undeniable force, the alpha necklace shining on her powerful white-furred neck. The elders were stunned into silence. The pack roared with awe and approval. The white wolf Luna, a myth come to life, had claimed her place. Josh stood up, grinning with pure triumph and pride. His sacrifice had not weakened him, it had unleashed a power greater than his own. Is this sufficient proof of the bond's validity, Elder? Josh challenged, his voice laced with absolute finality. Rose, the white wolf, nudged his hand with her massive snow-white head, her silver eyes blazing with love. Chapter 11, The Legend Unleashed. The transformation was immediate, powerful, and utterly definitive. Rose stood in the center of the hall, a breathtaking vision of the rarest shifter bloodline, the white wolf. Her fur was the color of fresh snow under moonlight, and her eyes, once a shy hazel, now glowed with the luminous silver of pure, untapped power. She dwarfed Josh, her silent, powerful presence radiating the very harmony and stability the pack craved. The High Council elders were not just convinced, they were physically moved. Elder Lyra, the sternest of the three, had tears streaming down her face. The white wolf was an ancient legend, a symbol of ultimate purity and the highest form of mate bond. Rose, feeling the immense, exhilarating power of her fully unlocked wolf for the first time, turned her gaze to the corner where Selena and Vivian sat. Her silver eyes, the same shade as the moonstone necklace now resting regally on her thick white fur, locked onto her stepsister. She didn't snarl. She didn't move aggressively. She simply held the gaze, and the sheer, unadulterated power of her being crushed Selena's already fractured spirit. Selena visibly shrunk, finally realizing the true, devastating magnitude of the woman she had tried to disgrace. Josh, equally moved, shifted as well, turning into his massive midnight black wolf. The two stood side by side, black and white, power and purity, a perfect, undeniable balance. The elders required no further evidence. Elder Lyra stood, her voice trembling with reverence. The bond is not only valid, Alpha Kincaid. It is blessed. The Moonstone Pack has been graced with a Luna of the highest bloodline. The petition for nullification is dismissed. The mate bond between Alpha Josh Kincaid and Luna Rose Elms is declared eternal and unbreakable. The pack erupted in a primal, joyous howl that shook the very foundations of the whole. Later, Rose, back in her human form, sat with Josh in their private quarters. The Alpha necklace felt heavy, a thrilling weight of shared responsibility. "You knew, didn't you?" Rose asked, running her fingers over the massive moonstone gem. "You knew there was something more than a low-scent wolf." Josh settled beside her, pulling her close. "I knew my wolf was reacting to the purest scent I had ever encountered. My wolf knew. The only thing I didn't know was the color of the fur. Your father's warning was wise, Rose. The white wolf line is rare, often persecuted, and often hidden. You never shifted because you feared the attention, and they suppressed your energy. My sacrifice, my willing surrender of my alpha command, removed the final, psychological block. It proved to your wolf that the power you feared would be abused was instead offered in service. It was the key to unlocking your destiny." He looked down at her, a profound love shining in his eyes. "You said you couldn't fully shift. I told you we would fight their politics with your truth. The truth was the purest power in the territory. My Luna is a legend." Chapter 12, The Reckoning of the Stepbates. The consequences for Selena and Vivian were finalized the next day. Josh, now backed by the unquestionable authority of a white wolf Luna, had no room for leniency. The final meeting was held in the Alpha's private office. Selena and Vivian were brought in, their faces tight with fear and the lingering shock of Rose's transformation. Rose, now entirely comfortable in her role, sat beside Josh. She did not speak, but her presence, serene and powerful, dominated the room. Vivian, seeing Rose's silence, attempted a final, desperate plea. "Rose, darling, surely you won't let him do this. We are family. Your father would be furious. A little misunderstanding, that's all it was." Rose finally spoke, her voice calm and measured. "My father is gone, Vivian. And family does not seek to break a spirit, steal a future, or sabotage a sacred ceremony out of spite. You and Selena caused a grave disgrace to this pack and threatened its stability. That cannot be undone." Josh then delivered the final verdict. "The sentence of exile to the border is confirmed. But a new condition has been added, elder approved. Due to your attempted manipulation of the mate bond, you are stripped of your shifter status within the Moonstone territory. You will be branded as unworthy, a punishment visible to all packs. And as a final act of justice, all assets and privileges you accumulated under the guise of my Luna's family are to be confiscated and donated to the pack's community aid fund. You leave with only the clothes on your backs." A pack warrior stepped forward, holding a hot iron branded with the symbol of an empty, broken crescent moon, the mark of the unworthy. As the warrior moved toward them, Selena shrieked in terror. Vivian wailed, pleading for mercy. "Wait," Rose commanded, raising her hand. Josh paused, giving Rose the space to exercise her newfound power. Rose stood, walking slowly toward the two women who had tormented her for 7 years. She looked at Selena, her silver eyes holding no malice, only a cold, hard justice. "I will not allow you to be branded, Selena," Rose said, her voice soft. "I will not allow my first act as Luna to be one of vengeance. However, your crime was not against me, it was against the pack. The sentence of exile and loss of status remains. But I commute the physical branding. Your shame, and the shame of your malicious intent, will be your punishment. Leave now. And never return." It was an act of profound mercy, one that demonstrated Rose's true, deep-seated strength of character. She had chosen grace over retribution, securing her status as a noble, compassionate Luna in the eyes of the entire pack. Josh watched his mate, his eyes blazing with love and admiration. She was everything he had ever needed. Chapter 13. The Luna's New Purpose. With the threat of the petition and the internal sabotage eliminated, the Moonstone pack settled into a new, exhilarating era under Alpha Josh and Luna Rose. Rose, no longer the quiet girl, embraced her role with a fierce dedication that surprised everyone. Her low-scent existence had given her a rare ability to perceive the pack's needs without the filter of power or status. She immediately focused her energy on the weakest links in the pack: the elderly, the orphaned, and those who were struggling to find their path. "A pack strength is not measured by the Alpha's wolf," Rose declared during her first official address to the pack, the white wolf symbol on her collar gleaming. "It is measured by how well we care for the most vulnerable among us. If the bottom is secure, the top will never fall." She initiated programs that utilized the confiscated assets of Vivian and Selena, creating a pack-run healers collective and a youth mentorship program. She was an extraordinary leader, a complement to Josh's formidable strength and defense strategies. Josh, true to his vow, never once pulled rank or issued an alpha command to Rose. He consulted her on every decision, publicly deferring to her wisdom in matters of pack diplomacy and internal affairs. The act of giving up his right to command had, paradoxically, strengthened his leadership. The pack respected a leader who respected his partner. Their private life, however, was a sweet, intense discovery. The physical bond, unhindered by fear or doubt, was absolute. Rose found in Josh a deep, patient lover who worshipped her newfound confidence. One night, as they lay together, Rose traced the powerful lines of his jaw. "I'm still getting used to this," she admitted, a soft smile on her lips. "The power. The knowledge that I am the white wolf." "You are still Rose," Josh murmured, kissing her palm. "The one who saw a clumsy girl and decided to protect her. The wolf is just the manifestation of the pure heart I claimed." "And you," she whispered. "You are the alpha who knelt. You taught me that strength is not about dominance, but about submission to love." Their perfect harmony was a beacon of stability, but the world of shifters rarely remains peaceful. Their newfound calm was soon threatened by an external force. Chapter 14. The Whispers of the Black Wolf. Josh and Rose were in the middle of a strategic meeting with Jax when a frantic message arrived via an interpack courier. It was from the alpha of the far northern Duskfong pack, a territory known for its harsh territorial ways. The letter was short and ominous. It spoke of a new, terrifying threat, a powerful, rogue shifter known only as the Black Wolf. The Black Wolf was not an ordinary rogue. He was rumored to be an alpha-level shifter who had been systematically taking down rival packs, not for territory, but for sport, leaving behind only chaos and devastation. "The Duskfong Alpha claims the Black Wolf is moving south," Jax reported, his face grim. "He is destroying their food supply and defense systems. His path of destruction points directly towards the Moonstone territory." Josh felt a cold knot of dread form in his stomach. The Black Wolf sounded less like a rival and more like a force of nature, a being of pure, unbridled malice. "We reinforce the borders, immediately," Josh commanded. "Jax, triple the patrol. Rose, you will work with the Healers Collective to prepare for mass casualties. This is not a common threat. This is a deliberate attack on the foundation of our existence." Rose, sensing the depth of the danger, stepped forward. "We need to know why he is coming here, Josh. Rogues follow resources. This one seems to follow power. He is coming for you, Alpha. And if he comes for me, Josh growled, he will find not just the Alpha of the Moonstone Pack, but the White Wolf Luna protecting him. As they prepared for the coming war, a chilling piece of intelligence arrived. One of the captured Black Wolf skirmishers, under intense interrogation, finally cracked. The Black Wolf, the rogue whimpered, he is searching for the White Wolf. He doesn't want territory. He wants to break the legend. He wants to claim her power and use it to destroy the High Council. He believes the White Wolf is the ultimate symbol of the pack structure he despises. The full weight of Rose's unique destiny settled upon her. She was not just a Luna, she was a target. And the threat was not just a political maneuver, but a war for her very existence. Chapter 15: The Trap and the Confrontation. Josh immediately moved Rose and all vital pack resources into the vault, the safest, most heavily warded area beneath the compound. He knew the Black Wolf would bypass all external defenses. The ultimate showdown would be on Moonstone ground. Rose refused to be hidden. I am the target, Josh. I will not hide while you fight my battle. We will face him together. Josh, trusting his mate completely, agreed. They would set a trap, using Rose's power as the bait. They chose the ceremonial hall, the site of their claimed bond, as the battlefield. The Moonstone Pack gathered, but this time, not for a celebration, but for an impending battle that would determine their survival. Rose stood in the center of the hall, the massive White Wolf, the powerful moonstone necklace radiating energy on her neck. Josh stood beside her, his Black Wolf form a shadow of protective muscle. The Black Wolf arrived precisely at midnight, a silent, terrifying shadow that slipped through the outer defenses as if they were made of mist. He burst into the hall, a huge, coal-black wolf, his eyes twin points of malicious, burning red. He was even larger than Josh, a creature of pure, destructive power. He looked directly at Rose, his massive head tilting with cold amusement. The legend is real, the Black Wolf snarled, his voice a low, gravelly threat that vibrated the very air. The White Wolf. I expected a warrior. I find a timid girl hiding behind her alpha. You should have remained invisible, little one. Now, I will break your purity and then your mate's spirit. He lunged. Josh was faster. He met the attack head-on, the two massive wolves slamming together in an explosion of fur and teeth. The sound was deafening, the force of the collision shaking the hall. Rose, however, was focused on something else. She looked past the brute force and saw the Black Wolf's eyes. There was a desperate, almost familiar rage in the red depths. She initiated a powerful, non-physical command, a Luna's empathic probe, pushing her pure White Wolf energy into the mind of the Black Wolf. Who are you? The Black Wolf roared in mental pain, his attack momentarily faltering. He pulled back, his red eyes wide with shock and confusion. He had never met a force that could penetrate his mental shields. As he staggered, Rose saw it. The plot twist that turned the battle from a war of power into a devastating confrontation with the past. Behind the Red Wolf's right ear, partially obscured by the thick black fur, was a jagged fading scar, the unworthy crescent, the same mark Josh had threatened to brand on Selena and Vivian. The Black Wolf was not a random rogue. He was someone Rose had known, someone who had been exiled and consumed by a vengeful hatred. He was someone from their past, returned for the ultimate, personal retribution. Chapter 16: The Face of Vengeance. The sight of the faint, jagged crescent scar, the mark of the unworthy, on the Black Wolf's ear froze Rose's blood. It was a familiar, agonizing symbol. Josh, still locked in a brutal struggle with the massive rogue, had not seen it. Rose pushed her White Wolf senses deeper, ignoring the raw, brutal snarls of the ongoing battle. Her mind delved into the mental recesses of the Black Wolf, bypassing the rage and finding a core of familiar, bitter jealousy. Who are you? She mentally screamed, the power of her White Wolf essence lashing out like a silver whip. The Black Wolf recoiled, staggering back, his defense broken by the sudden, penetrating mental assault. He shifted instantly, the massive Black Wolf dissolving into the figure of a man, a large, powerful shifter, his body racked with pain and a consuming hatred. Rose's voice was a soft, horrified whisper that carried across the stunned silence of the hall. Trevor. Trevor was the Moonstone Pack's former Gamma, Selena's cousin. He had been a low-ranking but powerful male who had secretly been Selena's devoted puppet, always aiding in Rose's quiet torment. He had vanished after Rose's father's death, believed to have joined a rogue faction. He hadn't just vanished, he had been consumed by the very hatred his family had fostered. "You remember me, Rose?" Trevor sneered, his red eyes blazing with psychotic fury. "I am the shadow you cast aside. You think you are the purest thing? You think you deserved to be the Luna? You are a pathetic, low-scent weakling who stole the destiny that belonged to Selena and me." He pointed at the faint scar near his ear. "Selena told me what you did to her. She told me about the brand you didn't give her. I took this shame upon myself, the unworthy mark, to focus my rage. I am the Black Wolf now. I came here to destroy the purity of your White Wolf legacy and show this entire pack what a true, unbridled power looks like." Josh, realizing the depth of the betrayal, shifted back instantly, his hands clenching into fists of pure, unadulterated fury. "You disgraced our pack, Trevor. You were unworthy of its loyalty. You will pay for this treachery. You will pay for my suffering." Trevor roared, lunging again, aiming directly for Rose. He wasn't trying to fight Josh, he was trying to break the symbol of purity and stability, his Luna. Chapter 17, The Battle of Light and Shadow. Josh intercepted Trevor's attack, but this time, he fought with a terrifying, controlled power. He knew Trevor was aiming for Rose, and he moved to shield her, his body a formidable wall of muscle and dominance. Rose, however, was no longer willing to stand aside. She had faced her tormentor, understood the root of the threat, and her full White Wolf power was now surging with a purpose greater than mere defense. "The White Wolf is not broken by malice, Trevor," Rose declared, her voice ringing with the newly discovered authority of her bloodline. "The White Wolf is broken only by the loss of choice. You lost your choice to hatred. I claimed mine through love." She transformed, the magnificent White Wolf darting around the two grappling men, using her agility and mental power instead of brute force. Rose didn't engage Trevor physically. Instead, she focused her empathic probe into a steady, intense beam, targeting the core of Trevor's immense, uncontrolled power. The Black Wolf's energy was dark, chaotic, and unstable, the very opposite of her White Wolf's harmonizing purity. Josh saw his mate's strategy. He knew he couldn't beat Trevor purely on strength, the rogue was too consumed by rage. He needed to destabilize him. "Rose!" Josh yelled, locking eyes with her. "His power is fueled by the unworthy mark. Target the wound, the source of his self-inflicted shame." Rose focused her mental energy onto the faint scar on Trevor's ear. She pushed her pure, silver light into the wound, forcing the Black Wolf to confront the very shame he was trying to project onto her. Trevor screamed, a raw, inhuman sound as the silver light hit the corrupted tissue. His black fur began to steam, and his powerful shift wavered, flickering back and forth between man and wolf. His power, fueled by hatred, was entirely incompatible with the purity of the White Wolf's light. Josh seized the moment. With a final, crushing roar, he slammed Trevor against a stone pillar, the force of the impact cracking the stone. Trevor slumped, defeated, his wolf form fading completely, leaving him a broken, trembling man. The Black Wolf, the terrifying rogue who had threatened the entire territory, was nothing more than a ruined vessel of spite. Rose shifted back, exhausted but triumphant. She walked to Trevor's prone form, looking down at the broken man who had been the author of her final torment. "You chose to be the shadow, Trevor," Rose stated, her eyes filled with the sadness of a wasted life. "The Moonstone Pack has no room for those who choose hatred over healing." Chapter 18, The Path of Mercy and Justice. The Black Wolf was defeated, but the challenge to Rose's character was not over. The Pack Council now stood before their Luna, waiting for her verdict on the defeated rogue. Justice demanded his death. Josh stood beside Rose, his hand resting on her shoulder, a silent promise of support, no matter her decision. Elder Lyra was the first to speak. "Luna Rose, the Black Wolf has endangered this pack and violated the laws of the territory. He must be executed, swiftly, publicly, to ensure no other rogue attempts to challenge your authority." Rose looked at the broken man on the floor, then at the moonstone necklace on her chest. Her power was no longer just her own, it belonged to the pack, and it demanded justice, but justice filtered through her unique wisdom. "No," Rose stated, her voice clear and strong. "He will not be executed. Death is too simple an end for a crime fueled by such deep-seated shame." The council gasped. Rose was defying the traditional law of the pack. "Trevor sought to destroy the White Wolf to prove his worthiness," Rose explained, addressing the entire hall. "He was consumed by the same malice that drove Selena and Vivian. I am the Luna who was almost disgraced. I know the root of this corruption. I choose not to execute him, but to heal him." She knelt beside Trevor, placing her hand on his forehead, ignoring the angry shouts of the council members. She began to channel her pure White Wolf energy, not to heal a wound, but to heal a mind. Her energy poured into his psyche, washing away the layers of hatred, shame, and envy, leaving only the frightened, broken man underneath. The process was long, painful, and deeply exhausting. When Rose finally pulled back, Trevor's body lay still, his eyes closed. The malice was gone. "He is free of the corruption," Rose informed the council, rising to her feet, leaning slightly on Josh. "His mind is clear, but his body is broken. He will be sent to the most remote healer's monastery in the mountains, to live out his days in quiet contemplation. He will never again walk among shifters. His sentence is not death, but repentance." The council, stunned by her profound demonstration of mercy and power, had no choice but to agree. Rose had just established a new law for the Moonstone Pack, justice tempered by compassion, led by the quiet strength of the White Wolf. Chapter 19. The Unwritten Epilogue. The defeat of the Black Wolf cemented Rose's position as the most formidable and respected Luna the Moonstone Pack had ever known. The Alpha and the Luna, the Black Wolf and the White Wolf, were the perfect balance of power and grace. Rose led the pack into an era of prosperity, using her insight to anticipate political conflicts and her healing energy to strengthen the pack's morale. The whispers were gone, replaced by a deep, abiding loyalty. Josh remained true to his vow, never once using his alpha command on Rose, treating her as his co-ruler and equal. He often found her on the old ceremonial path, no longer looking down in fear, but standing tall, a vision of strength in the moonlight. One evening, Rose and Josh stood together on the highest turret of the compound, looking out over their peaceful, moonlit territory. "The fall," Rose mused, leaning against his chest, the alpha necklace cool against her skin. "If Selena hadn't tripped me, I would have walked past you, silent and invisible. I would never have been claimed. I would never have unlocked my destiny." "You would have found your destiny, Rose," Josh corrected, kissing the top of her head. "But it would have taken longer, and it would have been harder. Selena's malice was the catalyst the moon goddess used to force our bond. She meant to disgrace you, but she only cleared the path for your truth." "She meant to make me fall," Rose whispered, a soft, loving smile on her face. "But instead, the alpha came running to pick me up." Josh squeezed her close, the powerful scent of pine and leather enveloping her. "And I will run to you every time, for the rest of our lives, my Luna. Because in that single, clumsy moment, you gave me the perfect partner, the perfect pack, and the perfect love." Chapter 20. The Last Word. Years passed. The Moonstone Pack thrived. Alpha Josh and Luna Rose were blessed with 3 children, all possessing the rare, beautiful silver eyes that hinted at their mother's powerful legacy. The story of the clumsy girl who was saved by the kneeling Alpha became the pack's foundational legend, a constant reminder that true strength lies in humility, and true love in unselfish choice. One morning, Rose received a small, wooden crate delivered by a silent courier from the distant mountain monastery. Inside, there was nothing but a single carefully carved piece of white mountain stone, a perfect, small, humble representation of a simple white wolf, unadorned and unashamed. Rose looked at the small carving, a final, quiet message of repentance from Trevor. She placed it on her desk, a reminder that even the deepest shadow can be touched by the purest light. Later that day, she was holding court, listening to a group of young females seeking advice on finding their mates. One shy girl, afraid to speak, finally mustered the courage to ask Rose a question. "Luna, how did you know Alpha Josh was the one? How did you, a low-scent wolf, capture the most powerful Alpha's heart?" Rose smiled, her silver eyes warm and wise. She stood up, the light catching the powerful moonstone necklace. "My dear," Rose said, her voice clear and strong. "I didn't capture his heart. He claimed mine, not when I was at my most powerful, but when I was at my most broken. I knew he was my mate, my soul, my destiny, the very moment my stepsister tripped me to disgrace me at the ceremony, and I didn't hit the cold, hard ground. The Alpha came running to pick me up instead." Rose's final words were a testament to the greatest lesson of their love story, that the Alpha's love was the only shield she ever needed, and the most powerful magic in the world was a moment of true heroic kindness. The end.